tired of ads crashing your comedy podcast party? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
Hey, it's Sheena Shea, and as you know, life can get crazy when it's all happening. But whether you're a mom like me or have a ton of work engagements, also like me, everyone should have 2 minutes to spare. So everyone can enjoy a Factor meal, a delicious, dietitian-approved meal that's fresh, never frozen, and gets delivered right to your door. You can choose from calorie-smart options, protein plus options, and more. Visit factormeals.com/Shay50 for 50% off your first order.
Good.
£2.
Hello, EggChasers. It's the EggChasers Rugby podcast. The podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too seriously. People are never going to know what that £2 was for.
The mysterious £2.
What would we spend £2 on?
That could become one of those things where... Remember when the Ellis Genge story at Bristol, people would... Whenever people saw us, they go, what did Genge do? We said to people, if you ever find us at a bar... We'll tell you the Genge story. If you ever find us at a bar, we'll tell you what that £2 was for.
One of my favourite memories in rugby actually is hearing the full story first-hand from the Bristolians chairman when we were down at Northdorf at Sevens. It's a hell of a story. Like when you have, because we knew quite a bit of it. When you have the full first-hand detail. Hell of a story. Yeah,
well, and this will be new to a lot of people. So let's start the Ellis Genge story all over again.
Exactly right.
If you're out in France for the World Cup, I will be there. You can find me at a bar, and I might exchange a nice little glass of Prosecco. Or what's your favourite French tipple?
It's funny. Provençal rosé, obviously.
Yeah, probably. My brother was in Provence last week, so I asked him if he was drinking rosé and Pernod. Not mixed together, of course, but I like a Cremant or a Blanquet de Limoux, which are two kind of champagne style, but not as expensive as champagne.
I'll have one of them in exchange for the Ellis Genge story.
Yes.
Same with JB in Dubai at a pool party.
Oh, my word.
And Phil...
Well, I'm in Boston in a few weeks' time.
There you go.
About 6 weeks' time. So if you happen to find me in Boston, unlikely I know, but for... What do you drink in Boston?
What don't they drink in Boston?
Good question.
It gets properly cold there, so they'll put some away in winter.
Yeah.
Now, you've been all over the country. So you stayed down in London.
Yep.
You travelled all the way across London because Twickenham's not easy to get to. You've gone all the way back across London, got back on a train, got here. So presumably you've had a whale of a time.
At the England squad announcement, that's what we're going to talk about on this podcast. Let's talk about the squad. I'll just talk about the actual occasion. My overwhelming feeling is being underwhelmed.
Wow.
Because I can see that from the squad, but is that a reflection of the squad and the day?
Well, have you seen any of New Zealand's?
No, I can't say I have.
New Zealand announced their squad as well.
I've seen the squad. I've not seen how they announced it. I've just seen it written on text.
They announced it in front of a bunch of fans, hundreds of fans, with various speakers, all in the all black suit with the the blazers, with the
ferns,
And the players were announced one by one in alphabetical order by Richie McCaw. After which each player came on to a rapturous applause from the fans, and then they went on. What happened this morning was we were expecting an announcement at 10 a.m. The team was announced at 10 a.m. but that was just a press release was released to the world.
Just someone hit enter on a
correct
on a send off.
I think this is basically because the Times got the scoop yesterday.
Yeah, but. So the reason I don't think it'd be that is because if you're going to hold a big event, you don't just cancel your speaker and the fans. They must. And
I have watched the live stream since, and for anyone that was watching online, it was actually some quite good stuff. They played their most recent inside line content, stuff like that. But all of a sudden we got told, right, actually we're not doing anything in here, just go out to the pitch and if you want to take a photo of the team, getting their team photo done. So there was no kind of like,
oh really?
Steve Borthwick, here's my team, this player, here's my captain. There was nothing like that. They did the press conference afterwards, but for me, I don't know what I was expecting, and I guess if you were just watching online, which the vast majority of people were, it was it was great, but it just and I wonder if this is just, you know, when you think Steve Borthwick's personality is very understated. His squad isn't flashy. And it's it's quite pragmatic, so maybe that's just the brand.
Can I speculate on what's going on here? So I think there's a few things going on. So the first thing I think is going on is England, as I mentioned to you upstairs, Tim, they do have a bit of a reputation for being an arrogant nation. And I wouldn't be surprised if they want to play it down. They don't want to give anyone any sort of
I'm
like...
going to have to interrupt you. I've poured tea on myself. I haven't pissed myself.
Wow. That's impressive.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. So I remember 8 years ago it was now, I went to the kit launch. Now the
Rob Shaw.
Yeah, and it was really good.
Kit launch.
Like, it was really, really good. They had fans there, you know, and maybe that's because Canterbury wanted the song and dance rather than the RFU.
And it was a home World Cup.
It's a home World Cup. And
O2 made a big thing of that because it was a home World Cup. Beats by Dre made a big thing of it. We always back ourselves at home.
So there's three things going on, right? So one is they don't want to give anyone any ammunition. So it's like, here is our squad, do with it what you want. Number two is... I wonder if it's a reflection of the general malaise around England and the RFU and just how dreadful everything's going there. I mean, you know, the lack of enthusiasm for the game, the community game, for the professional game. I mean, it is in a bit of a dire state.
But then you have to lead, don't you, and go, this game's amazing and here's why, and look how excited we should be.
I don't disagree with you, but that's why the people in charge should not be in charge.
I'll put it this way.
Yeah.
There are more people that watched my 5-minute video as a reaction to the squad announcement than have watched any of the squad announcements.
Is that
on the
right?
official England channel.
That's incredible. Well done. That's incredible.
That's not the way. I'm not happy about that because I want everyone to be excited. I was there working for TalkSport, and I don't think. And I took microphones. I took setup. I made sure I had a good spot with good Wi-Fi. Nobody wanted to do. None of the shows needed a live hit from me. They just needed me to get some interview stuff so they could package it up and use it at other times.
Well,
so I think that just speaks to malaise is probably the right word, lack of enthusiasm. But then if you are the England team, you've got to be out there leading.
I know. Well,
the RFU have got to be the ones pushing this.
Well, here's the third thing, right? And here's a little bit left field, but I do truly believe this. If New Zealand have got, you know, all the fans and all the crowd there, this sounds like a fairly simple thing, doesn't it? You just find rugby fans and they all cheer, and because they're England fans, they're going to be really passionate. Can you imagine the logistical headache for England? Because they won't just say, let's just invite the fans. It'll have to be a certain type of fan. So they'd have to start it should be a really simple thing to do. They'd be like, well, have half of them women. Do we have a quota of Asian people? Can we get the Asians to the front, please? Like, you can just imagine. It should be so simple.
Have you seen?
It would just be a nightmare for them.
Have you seen the O.J. Simpson reconstruction that was on the BBC a few years ago?
No.
With David Schwimmer playing one of the... He's like the Kardashian dad, I think, one of the lawyers. And Travolta's in there, and it's amazing. But what you're describing is like the scene where they spend weeks selecting the jury. Because both parties want certain representative individuals for each side, and they want to make sure that they each get the right selection of individuals. It'll be like that.
Honestly, you think it's simple for them. They will make it as complex as they possibly can. And in the end, it's just easy not to do anything.
Well, let's talk about the actual squad itself.
Yes.
Come on, then.
Well, let's start with the bigger mission.
Emissions, I think.
Well, do you not think one stands out above all the others?
I think there's two big ones. I think the biggest one is probably Don Brandt.
Oh, I'd say it's Slade.
Well, it's mainly because Don Brandt, he's the man wearing the shirt. He started every game under Borthwick. Slade has been a bit hit and miss over the last couple of years. I mean,
he's
not saying
he's
that
been
Dominic
to two
hasn't
World
been.
Cups and he's played in the vast majority of games since the last World Cup, including under Steve Borthwick.
Was he Eddie Jones's most used back? Or it's wrestling in the Times today
I think
about
that's right.
him being utilised an awful lot.
Mm.
Maybe that's since the last World Cup, because George Ford was the most utilised player.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was definitely a headline one. Alex Dombrandt as well.
Yeah.
And Mako Vinopola, we don't know whether that's because he didn't recover fitness or whether he was fit but not selected.
Yeah, he'd always been in that rehabilitation squad.
So did you get to pose these questions to Steve Borthwick at some point?
No. I spoke to Kevin Sinfield, and as it was Steve Borthwick's selection, it's kind of you can defer to. It was tough calls, so didn't get any specifics on why those particular players. And when Steve Borthwick was asked in the press conference element, it was very generically, this is a World Cup and we can only pick 33 players, so
yeah,
there are going to be great players that don't get picked.
Yeah, you just got to keep on at him, haven't you? Why? So he tells you exactly what he's thinking. I don't think he will.
No. Yeah, those are the two big ones. Johnny Hill missing out is not that much of a surprise, but it was only 2 years ago that he was on Lion, and that year, 2 years ago, that he won. As did Slade, won the double.
Actually, that is a bit of a surprise for me, because I can never get enough of big second rows.
Yeah.
He's one of the few England second rows who are a big second row.
Having spoken only yesterday about the misuse of just attributes based on things like size and height.
Second rows are different. Second rows are just big.
I think certainly your tight headlock has to be, which means you've got Chesham and Ribbons, who are the two tight heads, aren't they?
Let's just rattle through position by position, because there's less to say on some of these than others. Loose head prop, we just talked about it. No Mako Vinopola, Bevan Rod in, Marler and Genge.
And no Valrapava Ruskin, but he was dropped from the squad a couple of weeks ago, so no surprises, no shocks.
Hooker, massive issue for England. If something happens to Jamie George in the next 3 weeks, what do England do?
Yes.
Jack Walker and Theo Dan have less than an hour of international rugby between them.
I'm quite excited about that. I know everyone's thinking, we need more experience. One of the problems with England is they didn't give enough lads a chance. In fact, you've got two fresh lads here, which nobody's got any real knowledge of. Specifically Theo Dan, I think, is a great player. I would be quite happy if he goes into battle for England. I think you can have the occasional inexperienced player, and he's got nothing to lose either.
No, I know he's got nothing to lose, and I would. So
but it would be nice to have.
I'm excited about players, but it's quite interesting that in 3 or 4 starts that Jack Walker's had under Steve Borthwick, he's only played less than half an hour in total. So Steve Borthwick didn't trust him to play more than 10 minutes in any given game. Now he is what looks like the second choice. If anything happens to Jamie George, like I say, we're inexperienced, and I think the drop off is massive.
Yeah, from what we've seen in Theo,
certainly on paper.
Theo Dan has got a lot of positive attributes, but he's enormously inexperienced, and we saw that inexperience against Wales when he came on.
I think in his favour, if he's throwing lineouts to some of his Saracens buddies, that's going to really, really work well for him.
And Borthwick has spoke about combinations are important, getting combinations that play together. And on the hookers, I'm just looking at some of the hookers who've been in the England squad over the past couple of years.
Singleton,
so you got those three.
Cowan Dickey, obviously.
Yeah, Blamire, who obviously played at the weekend.
McGuigan.
Yeah. A couple of others. Nick Dolly, who's been injured for a long time. Gabriel Ogre and Sam Riley was in there, and Tom Dunn.
I genuinely do not know who Sam Riley is. Who is Sam Riley?
He's Quins, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah. So there you go. Hooker is an issue. It is a weak area when you compare it to some other nations. But
if you had Cowan Dickey, if you had Jamie George and Cowan Dickey +1, you would feel Hooker is a very strong position.
Cowan Dickey's injured at the minute. If he gets even 70% fit and a fly half goes down, then Steve Borthwick will be calling Luke Cowan Dickey into the squad. Tight head prop. You've got Dan the Koala Bear, with you got the squad
Stewart and Sinclair.
Yeah, Will Stewart and Sinclair. Stewart is the number one tight head prop now. I think he's ahead of Sinclair.
It's an interesting one. I'm not convinced.
I'm not convinced. I used to love him. I used to think this is the future of English rugby. He's such a destructive scrummager, and I've not seen that same destruction. And years.
I loved him because he's the big frame. He's the younger, certainly compared to Dan Cole. But I agree with you. I'm not certain who the 1 and the 2 is. I think you're probably right. Yeah. It is Stewart, but
the Dan Cole selection is the worry for me.
Who would you pick instead?
Oh, no, ask a different question.
No. Who would you pick instead? Because we can't go into massive depth on every position. Like, if there's someone that's better than Dan Cole that's available and should be picked, then
there are players that are better than Dan Cole, right?
Who?
Depending on what you want, and this is what I'm trying to get to, right? Which is it a sign that you get your best scrummaging prop, which he probably still is, to be fair to him, at the expense of all the things he does around the field, because he will be targeted? Is that just a sign that they are not really that comfortable with Stewart's scrummaging? And that's a concern for me.
I think it's less Dan Cole's selection is less about Will Stewart and about the other players that could be picked instead of Dan Cole.
I tend to agree with that. I think he's the third choice. He's trusted to do a job if one of the other two goes down to be in the squad. But then it's and I'm looking at the tight heads who've been in the squad over the past couple of years. See if any of these names enthuse you. Joe Hayes, Patrick Schickling, whether he's eligible or not. Trevor Davidson, Will Collier, B. Allo was in the squad a couple of years ago. Harry Williams, Nick Shonut.
So no,
none of them. No, I disagree. I actually think all of them would offer something. I think
they all offer something, but you can't say any of them like head and shoulders. Oh my god, I can't believe that guy hasn't been picked.
Yeah, and this is a problem, right? Because of the multifaceted nature of propping. But what was the game I watched the other day? It was New Zealand, Australia, maybe?
Bledisloe I or Bledisloe II?
Yeah, I think it's the first Bledisloe, right? The reason I bring this up is there was not a scrum for the first 30 minutes. So, in that case, I would want Joe Hayes.
Yeah. Second rows, I see this as 2 tight headlocks. Dave Ribbons, Ollie Chesham.
Correct.
2 loose headlocks, Maro Itoje, George Martin.
You've got to stop there. You've got to stop. We've all got to stop, and we owe an apology to George Martin. George Martin is bigger than Chesham.
Is he?
He is bigger than Chesham.
No,
right?
he's not.
I'm not.
I stood next to Ollie Chesham today. Ollie Chesham's massive.
Let me just tell you now.
He may be heavier. He's not bigger.
Let me tell you right now. No. When we spoke about this, I got a phone call from somebody very, very close to both these players, and he said, "You are 100% wrong. George Martin's a bigger bloke than Ollie Chesham." I was like,
wow.
No, he's not. I was like, yes, and he said, yes, he is. And this guy sees them all the time. He sees them all the time.
I know who called you.
No, you don't. You nearly know him.
Oh, okay.
It's close. So George Martin is bigger than Chesham.
Okay, so nevertheless, I see him as a loose headlock.
According to their official Leicester stats, they are the same weight, and Chesham is an inch taller, which means Chesham is technically bigger.
I would say Chesham's bigger.
Yeah, I
don't see them every day.
On that, they're basically 1A and 1B.
Yeah.
Like we to really test this, JB, you are going to go and have to lift both.
You're going to have to weigh them both.
Yeah, that's the only way.
I don't think we need to linger on the second rows because I'm fine with those selections.
So sorry, who was the other?
Martin, Itoje, Ribbons, Chesham.
With the Martin, I think, will be seen a little bit in the same way that Courtney Laws is, and potentially even Maro is, that they can play 6.
They can.
Yeah.
So, you got to remember, Maro also plays a little bit of tight headlock. In fact, quite a lot of tight headlock. And people don't really appreciate this, but if he plays with Courtney, he always plays on the tight head side.
Yeah.
He's actually phenomenally strong.
But that's when you've got to, because I think that was one of England's downfalls in the 2019 World Cup final. That was the lock pairing.
Yeah, I don't think Courtney Laws will be a lock.
No, I don't.
No.
Not in the Argentina game or quarter final.
And he certainly won't be a lock with Itoje unless there are injuries on the park.
I think you're right. Back row then, one of the most difficult areas to pick, and so it proved. The ones you expected to see, Tom Curry. We expected to see Lewis Ludlam and Courtney Laws and Jack Willis.
Yeah.
Like you say, no Alex Dombrandt.
No Tom Willis.
Billy Vunipola was in. No Tom Willis, but Ben Earl in.
Yes, well deserved.
Which again, just on this one, Phil's already touched on it. Make it make sense. Alex Donbrandt gets every game under Steve Borthwick with the number 8 shirt on. Ben Earl cast adrift. Ben Earl in the World Cup squad. Alex Donbrandt not in.
Simply put, Ben Earl's a better player than Alex Donbrandt. There's no ifs or buts.
See, I don't think it's about who's the better player.
Okay.
I think we're looking at the whole squad, and we'll get onto this with the back line. There are 19 forwards selected, 14 backs. When I look at the England squad, I think Steve Borthwick knows his starting 15, and beyond that, if there's any toss-up in a player, he's gone for the one that can play more than one position.
Yes. Yeah, and Donbrandt cannot play anything other than 8.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I think Billy Vunipola...
He played second row once.
He played at Cardiff Met second row.
So I think...
Has he not been forced in there by injury?
No.
Well, he might have, like Nathan Hughes, for example, or Brad Shields.
Brad Shields
packed down in the second row.
So Steve Borthwick's gone, Billy Vunipola is my first choice, out-and-out 8. So, who are Alex Donbrandt, Ben Earl? Ben Earl can play more than one position. Alex Donbrandt, you're gone. I think it's the same. Lewis Ludlam. Although I think Ludlam probably would have been in whatever, but
and probably George Martin.
Yeah,
as well.
Sorry, I think there's a good chance that we see Lewis Ludlam starting 8
against Chile or Samoa. Yeah,
no, just starting 8. Full stop. I just think there is. I think I
think Tom Curry might be there before him. But I don't. But I could easily see whoever starts doesn't really matter. But I could easily see a Ludlam, Willis, Curry back row.
Yes,
I don't think it really matters what shirt any of them wear.
So I'm not sure. I say Billy's not done enough. He is a Premiership champion, so you know.
And he's been injured. He's consistently been in the rehabilitation squad.
Someone said something really
name check. Sorry, go on.
Someone said something really interesting. Just going back to Ben Earl. It was one of the commentary teams about how Ben Earl was used by Saracens, and he's most effective as a secondary runner. And what they meant by that, in fact, what they described by it was, you need Billy Vunipola on the field with him to make the first impact and bend the line, and then you utilise Ben Earl. So I wonder how they'll go about bending the line if you've got... I mean, Curry's a great ball carrier, but he's not quite a Billy. Willis is not a Billy.
I'm going to double down on the point I just made. I think in Steve Borthwick's mind, Ben Earl is not there to play Argentina or to play Australia or Wales in a quarter-final or a semi-final. Ben Earl is there as someone that can play 6, 7 and 8. And if there's HIAs that mean a player has to stand down for a week, or injuries, you've got someone that's as versatile as they can be. Steve Borthwick in his press conference used the word flexibility a few times.
Yeah, and this is very common with World Cups, isn't it? You always take swing props, or you always take the more flexible team.
It's a very pragmatic kind of way to assemble a squad.
Well, the way I would look at Ben Earl, he is one of the few players that can genuinely, on his own, take over a game. I mean, he can just do everything. He can be in the wide channels. He can be turning the balls. So to have him off the bench is just an awesome option. I would look at a way to get Ben Earl starting, I think. Yeah.
So if Lewis Ludlam's your 8, and Ben Earl's in your back row, who's the third back row?
Well, I said I think Lewis Ludlam would start 8.
Oh, right.
But I would play Ben Earl over Lewis Ludlam.
Okay.
Or Curry at 8 and Earl at 7. It doesn't really matter that much, but I would make sure that I could play Ben Earl, providing I had the ball carriers to dent the line first. Yeah, that's what I'd do.
Yeah, cool.
And you've got to have Billy. Or Manu. Or Genge. You're going to have Genge.
Yeah, Genge.
You've got Genge. But you can't... I think...
Sinclair in his prime would have been useful.
I think they risk using Genge too much. Particularly like, at the weekend, I have now watched... pretty much the whole game, apart from the last 5 minutes or so, and they did when your only heavy traffic carrier is Genge, he gets overused, and then he becomes incredibly predictable and incredibly easy to not incredibly easy to stop, but he's stoppable.
Yeah,
it's when you've got multiple options, it becomes more difficult.
And the Genge, Chesney can get over the line a bit, and then you sort of those sort of not second rate, but like 1A carriers like Tom Curry Like Tom Curry's a really good carrier.
Really
but he's
good
not
carrier.
Top end.
Well, he's just not quite as big as some of those
He's
other
big,
boys.
though.
Yeah, but he's not like Billy's 130 kg.
Yeah, that is big. That is very
There's not many back rows in the world.
Scrum half, then you've already mentioned Alex Mitchell not there, Danny Kerr, Ben Youngs, Jack Van Portfleet.
What on earth?
We knew exactly what was going to happen. Having watched the remainder of the game from the weekend, one of the things, maybe it got a little bit better when Van Portfleet came on, but one of the things that was so noticeable was the how many box kicks there were and the overall low quality of the box kicks.
Genuine question. If you went to England camp, right, if you were in charge of England right now, you said, like, Tim, Phil, go to England right now, you've got 8 weeks to watch these players pick scrum halves. Do you think you would end up picking Kerr, Youngs? Do you think they're that far ahead of the competition?
No, but then
that every rugby mind...
No, you mentioned Moneyball on yesterday's podcast, and I think Steve, there's a bit of this going on with Steve Borthwick. And to be fair, with Leicester Tigers, it worked. The stat that has been used, I don't think this came from Steve Borthwick, but people have used it, is that he will want England to kick 1,000 metres in a game of territory, and that is the stats bear this out as well. Teams that kick more win more. That's a really crude statistic, which obviously there's a lot of variables not accounted for in that. But if you just want to take a stat and have people that win a game and number of kicks, the more a team kicks, the more they win. And I think that's what Steve Borthwick's doing.
Does that translate? This is a genuine question now, right? Does that correlate with teams that defend more win more?
Potentially,
yeah.
I'd like to know the answer to that.
I remember reading something.
It does seem counterintuitive to give away the ball when we talk about winning the ball back all the time.
I remember reading something that meters. This is years and years ago. Meters made and defenders beaten only correlated with success when they were combined with turnovers. So if you have more turnovers and then you make more meters and defenders beaten, you make loads of defenders beaten and loads of meters and defenders beaten. But if it's in kind of predictable manners off first phase, second phase, it's far less potent than the same number of meters made and defenders beaters when you have got a turnover.
So there are some stats which are sort of not misunderstood, but sort of bastardised. And one of the ones doing the rounds about 6 years ago, I won't say now, is that tackle completion was not important for defence, which is obviously nonsense. I mean, you don't need to be a genius to work. I mean, if you have zero tackle completion, we're going to have a problem, right? So it is important up to a certain level.
Yeah, but by that it meant teams that fly up really fast off the line are more likely to miss tackles.
Saracens employed that effectively for quite a long period of time, where they'd have a really fast defence, miss a couple of tackles, but because they've disrupted the attack enough, the attack gets nowhere and then they're just swamped. Yeah, so Saracens had a big period where they're very, very successful with like 80 or lower % tackle. I think Saracens have changed their defensive structure, but you're obviously right. Zero tackles.
There has to be
zero tackles unless you just have the ball and score 150 points.
It has to
zero
be
tackles
over
is a problem.
70%, say. Like, it can't be below 70, whatever it is.
But between, say, 80 and 90, there may be very limited correlation with success.
Maybe.
And 95.
If you had 100% tackle success, I imagine you concede very few points.
Well, it could be that people are running through holes.
Yeah, there could be just enormous holes everywhere.
Yeah.
If you just had 14 or 15 guards and bodyguards,
like Will Griff-John, who never missed a tackle.
Yeah, but he's never been more than 1 yard away from
52 out of 52.
1 yard away from a ruck. So, on all things, lies, damn lies, and statistics.
Yeah, but there's the scrum halves, fly halves, forward Farrell Smith.
Again, incredibly predictable.
Yeah.
I don't have any issues with that.
No problem.
You've got different options, you've got good combinations, but the fact that your probably first choice fly half is also one of your four centres, really.
Well, yes, exactly. That is the only logical, or one of the logical reads into the fact there are three centres in Steve Borthwick's squad.
Wow. Can I just mention something about centres really quickly? an England centre has just signed for Warrington Wolves. Do you know who it is?
An English rugby union centre.
Kyle Eastman?
Nope.
Sam Burgess.
Correct. He is going as head coach for 2024.
Sam Burgess is
Sam
head
Burgess
coach.
is back. at Warrington
Cowhead
Wolves.
is back.
Well, I say back. He was never at Warrington Wolves, but he's back in England.
Cowhead's back.
Wow. Oh, I'm still hoping he makes the World Cup as a wild card.
Yeah.
Wild card outside centre.
Awesome. But England have
Sorry.
three recognised out-and-out centres in their squad. Only three. Manu Tuolangi, Ollie Lawrence and Joe Marchant.
And they're all kind of
There's no
primarily
way.
outside centres.
Primarily
as well.
outside centres. I mean, Manu Tuolangi's played a couple of years now for Sale at inside centre. Ollie Lawrence played this season at 12 for Bath and effectively for England as well.
Ollie Lawrence is a monster. An absolute monster. I go Ollie Lawrence and Marchant all day long.
I really like the combination of Ollie Lawrence and Marchant.
Well, I've just been looking at this. At no point, I can't find a single occasion where any of those two, any combination of those two, of the three England centres, have started a game together where in 12 and 13.
That's a bad sign.
It's never happened. Not that I can tell. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I bet
Tuolangi and Lawrence and Marchant. Tuolangi and Marchant has never started a game
big
together.
song and dance in the Welsh press a few weeks ago about the fact that Wales had used so many centre combinations, and one of the most important combinations are your centre pairing. So that's really, really worrying.
Do you know a centre pairing that has been used several times by Steve Borthwick, by Eddie Jones, by Stuart Lancaster?
Would it be
Farrell Tuolangi? Or in the case of more recently, Farrell Lawrence, Farrell Marchant. They've all been used. So I think that's to me, that's the biggest thing. I'm not saying it will be against Argentina. Steve Borthwick will line up with Farrell at 12. I think it will more likely be Tuolangi and Lawrence. However,
I don't like that one. How can you leave Marchant out?
Well, I'm looking at the type of rugby I think he's going to play, and I think he could go Tuolangi Lawrence.
Who was 13 for Tigers for the majority?
Kelly Porter.
Sorry, I was thinking, who the hell's Kelly Porter?
She's a singer.
What? Yeah,
Dan Kelly, Guy Porter.
Or Matt Scott.
Yeah, Porter Scott when Kelly was injured.
So I don't know what. So I still think in some games, and me and Phil have been saying it for months. Ford Farrell is not done.
Yeah.
Well, England might be done though.
It could well be.
Ford Farrell might be very much alive and kicking, but I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe it will be.
What centre partnership do you pick for Argentina if you had to choose now, Phil?
I probably would go Farrell, Lawrence, Marchant. Probably would. I really like. I thought Marchant was one of the best players.
His defence was really good, actually, as well.
Defence really good, and he was one of the few.
His attacking lines are great.
Yeah, one of the few. Now, maybe that's because he's running lines off Smith, but a good line is a good line, regardless of who's got the ball.
I'd have Marchant just on the field, whether it be wing or outside centre.
Marchant is very handy to have
amazing.
because he can cover all the positions. He's a very handy guy to have on the bench as well, but as is someone like Elliot Daly.
Oh, Christ, Elliot Daly.
I don't think he's going to be used as a 13 in a big game.
Oh, no, I don't think he's a 13.
He's both of those. If you have Marchant and Daly on the pitch and or on the bench, one of them on the bench, they're so handy.
Person who loses out is George Ford. That is a fact.
If Daly's fit.
Daly's fit, yeah. So Farrell and Elliot Daly, when they are, together and playing well, are lethal. I mean,
I do think you need another boot on the field.
Yeah, Daly does give you that.
Daly does give you that, and a left foot.
Yeah,
and just his attacking prowess and his knowledge of playing with Farrell. I mean, that to me, that should be England's cornerstone hope. Is Elliot Daly fit?
And imagine saying that 2 years ago. You would have had people angry. Like Elliot Daly was one of those characters that was England, and I'd say that there's been a massive turnaround in the last 6 months, and I'm pleased. And I'm pleased to say I always loved Owen Farrell, and I've always talked him up. I've always loved Elliot Daly, and I've always talked him up. the fickle fans that gave Elliot Daly and Owen Farrell so much shit.
I don't remember Elliot Daly getting any banter.
He got loads. Do you not remember when he was being played fullback? You can't have him fullback. We can't have. It was, why is Owen Farrell doing 12? Why is Elliot Daly 15?
Yeah, okay. Owen Farrell did bang on. Yeah,
Elliot Daly was the same, mate. Maybe even worse at one point.
Elliot Daly?
Yes. When he was England's 15.
I only remember him being like the most sought-after player in English rugby.
He got completely jettisoned out of the squad. Maybe he didn't play very well, but his at times. But he was. You've forgotten this. You've erased it from your memory. He got so much crap.
I just
as a
remember
fullback.
the only thing I remember of Elliot Daly is like the good stuff, like scoring Lions tries and scoring against Wales in the last second. Every time I think of him,
that try where he went round
Jonathan Davis.
Cuthbert on the left wing with amazing pass. I think it was a pass from Farrell.
Yeah, the harder he tries, the worse it gets. Yeah,
he was much maligned.
Maybe as like a fullback replacing Mike Brown in a different mould, but I don't remember him. Like, I've always thought of him as like the key for England's attack. Really, without him,
so
it would be difficult.
It will be interesting because I think in the back three. Moving on to the back three because we're talking Elliot Daly.
Yeah.
I think two of the spots are sewn up.
Watson and Stewart.
Watson and Stewart, exactly. I think those two start pretty much regardless. So if they're fit, they start. And then you kind of got one other from Daly, Arundel, Malins, and possibly even Marchant. Because he can play there.
Stewart starts at...
Stewart starts at 15. And Watson
15, yeah?
and Watson on the wing. I think they're nailed on.
Well, bearing in mind what Owen Farrell did to Ben Spencer, if he wants Elliot Daly playing, good luck, Stewart.
So who would get your if we take that assumption, and I agree with you, Phil, who would be your third player in the England back three to start against Argentina?
Maybe Daly for the reasons that you outlined, and then
I think it's Daly. Oh, I would pick Daly.
So my
because Daly was injured during the Six Nations, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was the best player in the Premiership by a
for
country
the
mile.
First half of the season.
Watson is
him and Theo McFarland.
Anthony Watson is starting to look like Anthony Watson when he was really good playing for Leicester. So that's just he stays.
Yeah.
He's one of the few guys who can be off form. You throw him into an England shirt and he could well be the best player on the field. So fine, he just starts. He's just an international player through and through.
A test match animal.
Oh,
yes,
that is a great term to use.
The other two for me. Okay, so if I was just picking who like a dream fantasy type team, Elliot Daly, I'd probably throw in Arundel. Why not? He's just got loads of highlights, scores loads of tries. But reality, the guy who's going to make all the right decisions all of the time is going to be Malins, and it's going to be Daly. So that's where I'd go, because I just think Malins might not make something out of nothing. But if there's a right decision to be made, he makes it.
Yeah, he just... I guess with him, but maybe because you've got Watson, you can afford that. But maybe with Stewart, I just think you need some more raw pace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think you need two guys with raw pace. And Malins is a fantastic rugby player. He doesn't have sprinter pace.
No, but he does have great acceleration and lovely feet.
He's against Arensa or Colby or Zammit or Corabetti. He's not going to go round. He's not going to Carreras. He's not going to go round any of those guys. Yeah, he's a fantastic rugby player. I'm not knocking him.
He just makes the right decisions, and I think that is his power.
I guess that should. Do you want someone who's going to play percentages very well, or do you want someone who's going to?
Yeah, you have to have Arundel.
Have a spark.
If you want the spark, you've got to have Arundel. But you've already got Watson. Maybe get rid of Watson, throw on Arundel.
But Borthwick's not a very sparky guy.
No, but he does like Watson.
He does love but Watson can do both.
Now, just back to Stewart, I will give him some credit because I think his attacking running is much maligned. And he actually is pretty decent. He can cut an angle. He's pretty powerful.
And it helps when you're 6'5" and 100 plus kg.
Yeah, but
one-on-one defence has been an issue, but everyone's no one's perfect across the board.
No,
but
hang on, who was perfect? Who's called Mr.
Nobody's perfect.
Nobody. Who was nobody? John Eel.
John Eel.
John Eel's
yeah.
nobody. I think the big difference is you've got Elliot Daly running from fullback, and Owen Farrell will instinctively know where he is, and that's going to be massive.
Yeah. Borthwick said combinations. I think that probably is. The back three will probably be Stewart, Watson, Daly to start.
Right, here's one question, though. Stewart goes down injured or gets an HIA.
Tired of ads crashing your comedy podcast party? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
Hey, it's Sheena Shea, and if you know me, you know it's all happening. From Vanderpump Rules and my podcast Shenanigans to my full-time job being Summer's mommy, there's always something keeping me busy, and that's why I love Factor. They send fresh, never frozen meals right to my doorstep. They're packed with flavor, dietitian approved, and make it easy to stay on track with my goals. Delicious and ready to eat in literally 2 minutes. I mean, seriously. Visit factormeals.com/Shay50 for 50% off your first order.
Can't play in a quarter-final against Australia, Wales or Fiji. Who's the number 2 fullback?
Oh, Daly. But Daly would be
Probably,
my number one fullback.
Probably Daly.
Yeah.
Because Anthony Watson, I think he's a better winger than he's a fullback. I think the freedom that he affords him allows him to play a bit better, be a bit more dangerous. So yeah, I'd have Daly.
Just remind me of the other back three options, because I feel like we've
Malins, Arundel. That's it.
Yeah, you kind of got Freddie Stewart, Elliot Daly, Anthony Watson, who can all kind of play a bit of 15. Then Arundel, who can play 15, but Arundel and Malins are your only other two kind of out-and-out wingers. With Marchant...
you say out-and-out wingers. I do believe Malins has played 10 for Bristol and 15 regularly. In fact, I think he's probably more than 15.
Yeah, so you're probably right. All of them are... So you've got 5 bodies there who are all comfortable playing wing or 15. Which
the flexibility
is exactly to your point, Tim. Flexibility. Perhaps Thockenasinger and try to think who else, Johnny May, who lost out. They don't have the same flexibility.
And maybe Slade too, because the other positions he could play, fullback, fly half, don't need.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so let's just talk about Slade, because I don't think we've actually spoken at all about him yet.
Other than it being the biggest or one of the biggest too.
So, one of the UK's greatest rugby journalists, who will remain nameless, but I'm sure if you listen to the podcast you'll know who I'm referring to, made the point that Slade really annoys him because he's never really taken an England game and dominated it. So that's a bit unfair.
He had one game against Ireland where he was unplayable. In the Aviva, he scored 2 tries and was man of the match.
Was that with Marchant?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think there's probably a point there. And the Times wrote something about him today, which was nothing symbolises England's wasted years more than the lack of a regular position for Henry Slade. I think there's also something in that, because he's had some amazing games for Exeter. He's had some incredible moments.
In 2015, when he was in the England squad, he's been to 2 World Cups. There was a thought that 10's going to be his position. Exeter thought that at the time. He thought that at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And, is he one of those stories of a victim of his own ability?
Yeah, I didn't realise how old he was. He's 30 years old now.
30 years old now, which...
He's done.
It's such a shame, though. But here's a little side story. Joe Marchant, who has got the spot in the England squad, and fair play and deserves it, and happy with that. He can't play for England after the World Cup because he's gone to France. Henry Slade is of an age profile where you imagine he would have had lots of French clubs lining up to sign him, and he stayed at Exeter presumably to play in a World Cup.
And according to Times as well, they think it was a shock. They think he wasn't told, or he's expecting to go. Maybe he'll get on a plane at some point if someone goes down. But
yeah, so what's been reported and said is that, and I think some of the coaches have said this in the past, is like players knew what the pecking order was. They knew that things would be upset. But I suppose it's like if you've ever been in a job, it should never come if it comes as a surprise that you get sacked from a job, then the boss hasn't done a very good job, because you should have known. It shouldn't come as a total surprise if you're not doing this, we need to see some improvement in this, let's make a plan to get that better. I think the fact players understood some kind of pecking order. I'm sure there was grey area in the middle where they knew it could go either way, and there's high competition. So I'm not saying Henry Slade deserved his spot, but the fact it came as such a shock suggests it was a late change.
Yeah, it does. It does. Just think of England's pecking order. Right at the top of the pyramid, they've only got one player, haven't they?
Owen Farrell.
Captain.
Yeah, there's only one player at the top of the pyramid. It's not like they've got 5 or 6 of them.
Itoji, you would consider, although his form has waned.
Yeah, I'd say ordinarily,
yes.
historically, Itoji, yes, but I would probably say Ellis Genge would be one of them.
Probably, and Jamie George, due to
Jamie George,
circumstances.
Yes. So Jamie George, not the same.
It's circumstantial, Jamie George.
You got one guy at the top, and you got maybe 6 guys underneath him.
Yeah.
I think Tom Curry is in that. I think Tom Curry plays.
Tom Curry might be.
If Tom Curry's fit, Tom Curry plays.
Tom Curry, probably Marrow, like you say. Jamie George, circumstances.
Yeah.
Ellis Genge.
I think a lot of people see Stewart, a lot of commentators see Stewart as that position. I'm not 100% convinced he is.
I'm not at all.
And I think he does some things very, very well, but I'm not as convinced that he is the... Like, if you listen to comms or read most, not all, but most rugby press, they would suggest that Stewart is absolutely untouchable in that position. I think he's not quite.
Yeah, completely agree. In fact, I think if it's up to me, he'd be on the bench. Simple as that.
I would start him, but I think he's...
On the wing, though, yeah?
No, I'd start him at 15.
And put Elliot Daly on the wing.
Well, Daly Watson, I'm happy with
Another
that. Another
fact about this 33-man squad, there are, I think, 16 guys that were in the squad in 2019. 12 of the 15 England players who started the World Cup final are in the squad now, and I think the majority of them will start against Argentina.
I don't think that's healthy.
Really?
No, not really, no.
South Africa are in the same boat.
Are they?
Pretty much.
Yeah. They'll have at least 12.
Kitsoff, Marks, Mbanambi and Malherbe.
Yeah.
Dutoy, Etzebeth, Vermeulen.
Diego.
Yeah,
he might
Lude.
not. Lude might not start. It would probably be Sneeman.
Khaleesi if he's fit.
Khaleesi if fit.
Pollard if fit.
Maybe Faf. Deolande, Am potentially.
If they get some form.
Colby, LaRue. So it's probably similar, actually.
Yeah, it's not far off.
I think they need more turnover. I really do. I think the age profile of that team when they went to the World Cup was perfect for reaching a World Cup.
Well, it was the youngest team that ever reached a World Cup final.
Is that right?
England 4 years ago, yeah.
They've not kicked on much, have they?
Well, that's exactly the point I was going to make. Is they have the same players that got to a World Cup final, but I think you can take each player one by one and turn them up a bit, turn them down a bit, but the net effect of that ups and downs would be a negative, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Sinclair down, Cole down. Jamie George hasn't had the moments that he had.
He's 34 maybe?
No, he's not old,
33?
surely. 30?
I don't know if they're, but that's not the point. But individual players might go down a couple of pegs, up a couple of pegs.
32.
But
split the difference.
But the point
33 during the World Cup.
If you gave a score out of 10 for every player in 2019 and a score out of 10 for every player now, the cumulative amount of those 12 players is lower than it was. Maro Itoje.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's interesting to ask why. And also, therefore, if you accept that is the case, then is it any wonder that the England team haven't been as good as over the last 4 years if those players
are slowly
have
declining.
Not pushed on? Because imagine think about where you imagine Tom Curry would be 4 years on from the 2019 World Cup final. You would think he's going to be the best 7 in the world.
Yes. I mean, he's very good.
I'm not knocking him. He's very, very good.
But
he is not what we imagined he would be
he's
now,
not the first
4
name
years ago.
On a World 15 team sheet, is he?
No. And we would have thought he would be with 4 more years.
Yeah, he could still be one of the best 7s in the world.
Yeah.
But you're right, he's not.
We would have thought Maro Itoje would be the best lock in the world and England captain.
Yeah.
At the next World Cup.
Yeah.
Yes, you definitely would have thought that.
Yeah.
Global superstar. I mean, he is a global super. Ish. Yeah.
As close as English rugby's got to one, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is interesting now. So what does it tell you about the Eddie Jones reign? Because it was simultaneously very unstable for so many players, but potentially far too stable for a handful of players.
But this is what I guess attributing. It's not blame. It's just one of those things. Some players kick on, some players maintain, some players dip off slightly. That's just a natural order of things. So I guess it's trying to. How much do you attribute? There will be efforts to try and attribute that to Eddie Jones.
Oh, I would.
It may be. It may.
I don't
not
think
be.
Warren Gatland would do it.
I blame Stuart Lancaster.
Yeah, Sam Burgess has got a hand in this somewhere.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
Especially now he's in coaching.
Could it be the English system, which kind of...
Could it be the declining Premiership?
I'm going to go back to the point that I just made, because I think there's something in this, which is if you were trying to get into the squad, it is so uncertain and it's so dicey for you. But if you are in the squad, you were so secure. So you had this almost like these dual atmospheres for the people who have made it and the people that are nearly making it, and that can't be healthy. And that probably does, in some parts, account for why you've not got fresh blood to take this squad to the next level, or just continuously turning them over. Because people would show up to England camp, they use loads of players. I mean, there's no...
The England camp, we listed before some of the hookers and props, tighthead props that have been in the squad in the past 4 years or so.
Not good enough.
There's an enormous number of names there, many of whom are just not good enough.
We said about Wales, didn't we? When those Wales players played on Saturday, it felt like they were playing for an opportunity to win the shirt, whereas the England players were either given basically a thank you and a goodbye, or the opportunity to hang themselves. So that was basically how it felt. I think that's not necessarily Steve Borthwick. I think that's probably a Steve Borthwick problem now, but we started under Eddie Jones. I think that's I'm going to go with that.
Here's a question for you. You mentioned Slade scoring 2 tries against Ireland a few years ago. Do you know what year it was? In a win at the Aviva?
2018.
I was going to guess 2018.
Well, Ireland got a Grand Slam in 2018, and they were unbeaten in 2018. They were Team of the Year. When we saw them in Monaco, we saw Johnny Sexton pick up his award.
That then was it 2016 when Eddie Jones took over and England got a Grand Slam? Was it that year?
It was 2019. It was actually stopping a double Irish Grand Slam.
Oh, wow.
In Dublin. And who was Slade's centre partner?
I think it's Marchant.
Farrell.
Farrell was playing, but Farrell was playing 10.
Slade 12.
Must be Manny then.
I'm sticking with Marchant.
Manu's correct. It was Manu. And Daly was 15.
How is Manu still in the squad? How is Manu still in this squad?
He's been all right.
He's been absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But, you talk about players that you didn't think you'd see again.
He makes good coffee, apparently.
Well, he does make great coffee. There's no two. But I just...
So does Daly. So does... What do they call it? Daly and Jamie George.
Daly a la Jinx.
Yeah.
I got a bit of coffee goss today.
Oh, brilliant. Now we're talking.
George Ford fancies himself as the best barista.
George Ford
did know that.
has a coffee shop.
He has a coffee shop
up in Saddleworth.
Yeah.
Does he?
He does.
He does.
We should go and visit that.
Yeah.
He fancies himself as the best barista, but he said Manu would argue for that one. Ollie Chesham said those two, but he said Elliot Daly has just perfected the Swan latte art.
Oh, superb.
Very
and
nice.
they have a coffee machine which travels the world with the England team.
Do they? I wonder what it is.
Yeah, I wonder what that setup is.
Should have asked.
I think I know. I think I've seen one of the ones that they use. It's in Elliot Daly's room, isn't it?
Ben Earl's the best golfer. He plays off a handicap of 2 or 3.
Doesn't surprise me. That does not surprise me in the slightest.
He's also probably the best CrossFitter in that squad.
And probably the best table
tennis
player.
He's best cricketer as well.
Of course he is.
Really?
Yeah, this does not...
And cricket is a big thing in the England camp at the minute. They'll be playing a lot of cricket in their team camp at Latuke.
Do you know who plays a lot of cricket? A lot of cricket. Sale South African contingent.
And the Curry boys.
Curry boys love them. Oh, yeah, because...
they're great cricketers.
I'm trying to think.
One of them rocked up to a club somewhere in Cheshire and played for the thirds and scored a century.
Their coach, I might be making this up now. There's some link here. So Mal Loy, who I think was a coach at Derbyshire, he was trying to persuade the Currys to become professional cricketers.
Really?
Yeah, because they are very, very good. But the Sale South Africans, I'm pretty sure John O'Ross has told me that he was a better cricketer than rugby player. And he loves cricket.
The social secretaries of the England team, guess who would you want as... There's 3 of them. And I found this out today. Ollie Chesham spilled the beans.
Social sex.
Genge,
yeah.
No, he won't be.
No,
he's in the formal, official leadership group.
Yeah.
So you can't...
Okay. Who's fun? They're all boring. Willis.
No, it's...
Will Stewart?
No, Jinx and Daly are 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
So Elliot Daly and Jamie George.
Okay, so Daly still can't drive, can he?
Is what?
Daly doesn't have a driver's licence.
Really?
Yeah.
He's never got a driver's license.
Never got a driver's licence.
Oh, I'm going to have to ask him about that one if I catch up with him.
That stacks up. He can drink whenever he wants. So that's a good truth.
They've already ordered, apparently. So, and the other one is Ben Earl.
Yeah, Ben Earl, I can see. Definitely.
Best drinker, best cricketer, best ping pong player, best
Well, they've already ordered dartboard, pool table, table tennis table, and cricket set for the team hotel.
Oh, nice.
I will just say, you used to mention JB. Who was it that was made captain of the Australia team because he was not Brumbies or Waratahs? Stephen Moore.
No. He was Brumbies, so it was Waratahs dominated, and to break up the clique, they put Stephen Moore as captain,
which is, I'm sure, why. It's one of the reasons because he was an amazing bloke, an amazing leader. But Rory Best,
yes, to break up the
Munster, Leinster, and certainly the Leinster heavy contingent. With that social secretary,
it's
all Saracens,
isn't it?
Which is a bit clique driven.
Well, Sarries do.
At least it's not all the Quins boys.
Sarries do the extracurricular stuff particularly well, don't they?
They do.
They've learnt well.
They've learnt from the best.
Yeah, which Quins boys? Danny Kerr, Marcus Smith,
Danny Kerr, Joe Marchant,
Jack Walker,
Marcus Smith, Jack Walker.
With respect, I don't want Marcus Smith arranging any of my socials.
I've just thought, because I mentioned that there are 12 of the 15 that played in the World Cup final, started the World Cup final for England in the squad. Can you name the 3 that started the World Cup final in 2019 that are not in the squad?
Oh, Johnny May.
Johnny May, correct, is one.
Oh, well then.
Is it Mako? Mako.
Mako wouldn't.
Mako.
Because Marlow would have been on the bench, right?
Correct.
Yes. Mako. Must have been Mako.
Yeah.
George Cruz.
Correct.
Cruz, good.
God, I wish he was still.
Oh no! Cruz, I think, was on the bench.
He was because it was.
It was Laws and Itoje.
So not Cruz.
It just occurred to me, Launchbury's not in the team.
No, he's not playing at an English club.
Yeah, he is. He's playing at Harlequins.
But he's not been in any of the. He's not been in any of the squads.
And he's fit, and I've seen him train. He's looking good.
Not made any of the squads, unfortunately.
I can't believe that.
So if it's not, so who else could it have been?
Or is there more?
I'm just checking. Sorry, just checking my facts. Oh yeah. That's right. So you got Johnny May.
Yeah.
That's
Mark Wilson.
No, that's the
Underhill.
And you got Mako Vunipola. The last one was Underhill. So the back line was, and if you just changed Freddie Stewart for Johnny May, Ben Youngs, George Ford, Johnny May, or Elliot Daly, let's say, Owen Farrell, Manu Tuolangi, Anthony Watson, Elliot Daly, Freddie Stewart. You could. It's only one change you would have to make to the personnel, and you could have a starting back line from 2019.
Do you know what the cruel thing is about that World Cup final? It's like right now, when I'm thinking about it, it's so obvious they were going to lose. They're just not good enough to take on South Africa. But the thing which gave you all the hope was that New Zealand victory. Everyone thought they'd turned the corner.
Well,
this is it. This is the game.
Well, I'm grateful for that New Zealand performance because it was
amazing.
The New Zealand performance was amazing. I still think had they have maybe a tight headlock, maybe just
a tight head prop which stayed conscious would be good.
One more tight head prop and a tight head lock, and maybe if they picked Charlie Ewels as a tight head number 8. Then they could have done something against South Africa. There's more tight heads everywhere.
Not to go over all ground, but I'm not saying it was his fault. I'm not saying that at all. But if Dan Cole wasn't good enough 4 years ago, and some people say that was the change. Maybe it wasn't that Dan Cole wasn't good enough. Maybe it was more the fact that missing Kyle Sinclair was too important. But if that was the case 4 years ago, why do we think it's going to be different 4 years later?
We've got to hope that we don't ever play South Africa.
Yeah.
That's the route to winning the World Cup. Let someone else knock them out.
Yeah, I'd love Kyle Sinclair to be Kyle Sinclair from 4 years ago. That would make such a huge difference to England right now. That would be...
I am
massive.
not down on England. I'm going to finish where I finished yesterday. The draw alone gives me so much positivity
Then
about
what do you
England.
mean to say, Tim?
If it's a big if they beat Argentina, in fact, it doesn't even matter if England don't beat Argentina.
They're going to win anyway.
Wales v Australia in a quarter-final. I mean, I'm very happy with that.
Tell you what.
You take it. I mean, anyone on the other side of the draw. You ask Scotland, Ireland, South Africa, France, New Zealand. Would they prefer?
Poor Italy.
Are you not a touch worried, though? A touch worried that it's going to be like Leinster reaching a final. So you get out of your easy group. I say easy group. It's not easy because Argentina are good. But say you lose against Argentina, but you absolutely smash everybody else, which is absolutely on the cards. And then Wales have been in a fight for their life for the whole group stage, and then you got to meet them.
Yeah.
Or Australia.
I'll take it. I'm not saying I'm confident England will win. I'm saying that's a matchup that I think we have a reasonable chance at maybe sneaking into a semi-final. And when you go back to 2015, didn't get out of our pool at a home World Cup. Disaster.
Don't remember that. Oh, no, I do remember that. I do remember that.
2019, after 3 years of being one of the best teams in the world number one team, in fact, dominating, winning Grand Slams, Six Nations, world record number of wins, to lose in a World Cup final was seen as disappointment and failure, and the overwhelming feeling coming away from that was, oh, you messed up. Why didn't you play like you did last week against New Zealand in the final? And you made the wrong choices in personnel. The difference now is the expectations are so low that a semi-final, and if we go out in a semi-final to France, well, fine. Or Ireland, all right, I can deal with that.
I couldn't.
As long as I see you roll the dice a bit.
If I was England,
go down swinging.
The only thing I would accept is a World Cup victory.
Well, there's 20 teams and only one can win, so I think that's unrealistic, completely unrealistic.
Do you say that to your New Zealand friends because they and your South African friends because they have one goal in mind? They are single-minded.
England have one goal in mind, but
so would you say?
But one thing, as a fan if I was in the England camp, yes, I would be having that mentality. As a fan looking at it from the outside, if they get to a semi-final and give a good account of themselves, I'll take that as a positive.
I wouldn't.
So we were discussing on WhatsApp today whether this will be a free hit to Borthwick, as in he can kind of get away with. I mean, if he loses to Chile, he's got issues. But other than that, has he got a free hit? Or if he performs badly in this World Cup, is he at risk of losing his job? And my view is it should be seen as a free hit. Because
I agree.
Because he's very good coach, and he's been given very limited time. Been thrown into the deep end at the wrong time. But I don't trust the RFU enough to think that it will be, because RFU and the English press, I might add, because they will turn against
let
them.
me tell you exactly how this is going to go. All right. So the snake that we know is Bill Sweeney. What's going to happen is, hypothetically, if England was to go in the group stages, which they're not, they're quarter-final, right?
Mm-hmm.
There will be... Well, there's only one man to blame, right? And that's Bill Sweeney.
Mm-hmm.
The executive is to blame because they made the change too late. They were too loyal. They made the change too late. It is all on them. But because they're snakes, they will hold an inquiry or a review, which will be independent. They'll have people less capable than Borthwick assessing Borthwick's opinion, people who've never been in that situation, looking at how it went, and then there'll be findings, and they'll just wait a little while until it all blows over. And in that review, one of two things will be there: keep Borthwick or get rid of Borthwick. But it will not say get rid of Bill Sweeney, because that is how
more money for there'll be
a pay rise for him. There'll be 100% a pay rise for him. But that is how the world works.
I think you are sadly 100% accurate in that.
Yes. Now, most importantly, something we've not touched on today. How was the food?
It was fine. Actually,
Underwhelming.
Underwhelming, but I take that as a good thing because I don't want loads of money being spent on journalists who are already they're pampered. Just when I was having conversations,
some of them do look well fed, don't they?
How are you? I just want to point out, when I go around working on the World Cup in France, I'm going to be staying in a camper van. And I don't even know where I'll be staying most nights. It'll probably be on the side of a street somewhere. I don't know. I've worked out 1 week because I'm so desperate not to stay in Marseille. I've organised where I'm going to be on the times when I'm in the vicinity of Marseille.
So Stephen Jones had a really odd article a while ago where he was bragging about he goes to watch the games, but then he tells someone else what to write.
Well, like dictates it, or
yeah, I think he called them a copywriter. He said, I've got 2 copywriters, and one was called Liz, I think. So, as I understand it, he phones up. I don't know how this works, right? He either phones up or he tells. I'm sure it's Liz. Or is that? How is? It's like the weirdest brag. It was the weirdest brag.
When I was having conversations, it was clear that the rumours of print journalism dying are exaggerated based on the number of journalists, sometimes from the same publication, that are out in France the whole time. I'm not knocking it. Fair play. Amazing work if you can get it. Take it. But being flown around, up north, south, up, down, hotel, like thousands and thousands of pounds must be being spent.
Here's a thought that I had, right? It's a CrossFit thought. That I had about what sport we consume in this country and how effective the coverage must be. But rugby is a sport which is lucky enough to actually get journalists writing about it. As you saw today, there were journalists there. This weekend, the CrossFit Games happened. And I don't know what the participation numbers are for CrossFit, but it's getting pretty bloody massive. I don't think
mainly because of the coverage we give it on this podcast.
Yes, absolutely. Mainly because of that. And I have not found a single article on the BBC or the Times or anything which covered the 4 days of games. But presumably, it is one of the biggest sporting events in the world this week. And not a single thing. And in terms of participation in sport, it's enormous.
Yeah.
If you look at the money it's starting to generate now,
just in stash alone. Just money in stash. It's an enormous market.
The commercial success of CrossFit, just as a business case study, is incredible.
That's an interesting thought, yeah.
So, why is it? So, just to expand on that a little bit, why is it that rugby is suffering so much when they've actually, we say, we need to do a better job of spreading the game? Well, correlation or causation, I don't know. But the journalists that are covering it, they don't seem to be able to generate the amount of interest or money for the game via their coverage. And I don't know why that is.
Some would say the lack of. I never ever say free to air TV, because the BBC
it's not free to air.
It's not
well done.
Free to air.
Yes, I've been telling this for a decade now.
So terrestrial, let's say like that. Terrestrial, where you only have to pay your BBC tax.
Yes.
But that people would obviously point to that.
No, I guess I wonder if actually we've got the relationship the wrong way around. Okay, I wonder if it's the fact that there are journalists in rugby that allow you to find the bad news out. And by the way, that isn't a bad thing. That there's daylight and what was it? Daylight is the best disinfectant, right?
Sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but it might actually be very counterproductive, because I have no idea if CrossFit is corrupt. I don't really know if the UFC is corrupt, but those are the 2 business case studies that I think of, which don't really have much mainstream coverage, but are enormous cash-generating machines, which seem to increase participation.
They're grown from out of nowhere as well. They've not got 100+ years of history.
Yeah.
The flip side would be Dana White, who, whenever anyone says about something controversial to in a press conference, he just goes, bugger off.
Oh, the best one is... was it a racist comment or something?
Yeah,
it's like,
I think I saw the same.
It's like, mate,
is that quite recent? That
it's like, mate, they're going to fight each other.
Yeah,
they'll sort it out. Yeah. It's a good point, isn't it? It's an absolutely great point. This is probably where it needs to happen.
There are some games next week, or this week.
England Wales, aye,
Twickenham. France Scotland, aye.
In Paris?
In Saint-Etienne, yeah. Saint-Etienne. Southwest of Lyon. Interesting. We then have Georgia, Romania. in Tbilisi with Wayne Barnes officiating.
Excellent.
And interesting, we've got Nika Amashukeli. I'm probably pronounced that horribly incorrectly, but the Georgian referee, who's always very good when
Yeah, he's very good.
when I see him, he's taking charge of England-Wales.
Oh, good.
We've got Portugal, United States. Portugal who are in, United States who are out.
United States who battered Romania on the weekend, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that actually.
Yeah, absolutely hammered them.
And Chile and Namibia. So not an enormous range of games, but there's a few.
No.
Here's one for you. I've got the England profiles. We're talking about size and weight. The England profiles up in front of me of George Martin. Oh, actually,
yeah,
George Martin. It doesn't even have any. I was going to ask you that heights and weights of these guys. England's official profiles. They doesn't even have their heights and weights. Brilliant.
What?
Well then, do you know?
Oh, there we go. There's ribbons. 202 centimetres tall and 120 kg.
I took up rowing when I was at university, in the off season from rugby. I gave it a go, and I rowed at Henley with Exeter, and every rower got weighed and your height and weight.
I'm
when
literally about to talk about this now. Go on.
So I don't understand why every player, when they should be officially by independent people, get their height and weight.
By us. Probably.
Yeah. By JB. Every player at the World Cup has to be weighed.
Talk about easy wins, right? So the URC have got like player ratings. So Dion Ferry is like the best player in the URC according to I made that up, but like they have like a little game card. You're like a top trump, and it just pops up. And like fair play. At least they're thinking about things. You know, how can you engage? Fine, easy win. Make the pack of both teams face each other before they walk out on weigh bridges.
Oh, weigh bridges.
It costs like
before,
it would cost £50 a game. And it would just be awesome to, weighing in at a combined weight of, boom, your Sale Sharks pack.
Or even before they go out to do the warm up, you always have the shot of the two captains doing the toss. No one really cares about that. The two front fives just standing opposite each other like a fight. Or the two front rows, even.
Well, like your
if you just had to have, like, I know it sounds ridiculous, the two front rows. Sorry, guys, you have to spend a minute standing staring at each other, and just that as a spectacle would be awesome.
On scales.
On scales,
like the front row weigh-in should be like a thing which happens in every single Premiership ground. It costs you £50 a game. Everyone wants to see it. Everyone's excited about it. I mean, just the fact the fans know who's the biggest front row, it's a real thing. People care.
Well, people actually do really care about that stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's a way of, like, comparing.
Exactly.
It's an easy thing to compare, and that's what people are interested in doing.
And, you imagine you got a new kid in and he's a little bit light, but then they end up winning. Like, you've got folk stories and all sorts going on here.
And then after a game, your fastest drinker against their fastest drinker.
Yes. Great idea.
Pint race.
And the other thing I was thinking, like, your press conferences today, Tim, did they have all the players there, or was it just like Borthwick and captain? Or
they had the coaches, and then they had a few players. I didn't actually go to the press conference because they were being streamed. I thought I could watch that later. I was down on the touchline, and I spoke to Ollie Chesham, George Ford, Kevin Sinfield. So there were some players that were just doing the rounds, and there was I think it was Ollie Lawrence, Owen Farrell, and one other.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, because I was going to say the UFC press conferences are much more interesting when they just have everybody on a staggered desk, if you like. So, like the second row is 2 foot higher than the first row, so on and so forth. Just have them all there and just ask them questions. Just ask them all questions.
Well, in terms of the weights, so I am on the official England profiles of their World Cup squads. Dave Ribbons, 202 centimetres tall, 121 kg. George Martin. There is no section to give any weight or height for him. It doesn't exist on his official England profile. And Ollie Chesham, it's there. Do you want to know the height and weight of Ollie Chesham and his official England profile?
203.
No. 0-0.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Thank you, England Rugby, for doing such a good job.
Incredible scenes.
It's all right.
Is it all right? Why is it all right?
No.
This is the day of the press release.
The day of the press release. Yeah.
So can I just tell you, right? I have a really good friend.
And Ollie Chesham, position not applicable. Thank you.
So I have a really good friend, right? And he says the following. God knows why he's friends with me, but nevertheless, he goes, if they lie about the small things, what about the big things?
That's not a lie.
No. So the principle is,
All right.
if they don't get that right,
Yeah.
what else are they not getting right? You know,
Yeah.
if you
If
can't
the
get
basics-
the most... I mean, what is your product? Your product is big men who play certain... I mean, that's so obvious, isn't it? That's their product.
Yeah,
That's all they have to sell.
What I will say is on the website, there's a whole lot of effort that goes into stuff nobody will care about.
But that isn't one of the things, is it?
That is
like
the size, the size and weight. If you're going to have don't have a section, just have his name, but don't have name not applicable, position not applicable.
I tell you what, if Phil clicks on like the safeguarding policy,
Well, I'm just on the governance section.
Yeah. So like the safeguarding policy, bang up to date. The equity and diversity policy, bang up to date. Ollie Chesham's position, not that bothered. What are you selling, boys? What are you selling?
It is exactly that. On the governance, rules and regulations, safeguarding, betting, anti-corruption, anti-doping and illicit drugs, discipline, player agents, diversity and inclusion, comprehensive on every count. But you can't tell me what position.
In terms of corruption, the fact that the whole organisation is corrupted to the fact that they don't even include the positions and the heights of players. I mean, that's a form of systemic corruption where they're more bothered about updating those bits than the thing they actually sell. Yeah. This is what is wrong with the UK in general. This is why we have lack of productivity, because they're all bothered about the wrong things.
Yes. There we go.
Well,
on that positive
if you do
note,
want to know about rugby, don't go to the RFU, come to us, because we're here 52 weeks a year and we give you rugby information.
4 weeks on Friday, the World Cup begins.
4 weeks.
I need to start getting excited. When should I start getting excited for this?
You'll get excited when the France v New Zealand team gets announced.
Yeah, so there's... I'm not excited for the reasons you may think. I'm usually not excited. How that's double negative, that means I am excited. I'm usually not excited because I don't like to think about it. So usually I just like to put it to one side and then think about it 2 days before. So yeah, when the France-New Zealand teams get announced, I think there will be an inkling of excitement then.
We're going to have to talk about... you'll get excited as well. I'll tell you what we'll talk about on at some point as well is the stash. Because I think all of the teams... I don't know if George's kit out. I think that's the one. We're waiting for just George's kit and then we've got all
I've
the
looked
kit.
at none of the stash yet. Yeah, I've probably seen it. It's not really registered as good.
There's some good
There's
kits.
some
Argentina
really good
away is decent.
with the sash.
Yeah, why not?
I
it.
quite like it.
I quite like it.
Do you know, I was off on holiday. Where did I go? No, I went to Barcelona. And I thought, because it's EasyJet and you can only have like one sort of thing, like carry on hand luggage, the item of clothing that I needed the most, in my opinion, was vests. It's nice and warm. Mm-hmm. Why not wear a vest? It takes up no space. That will be your day drinking attire for 2 days, potentially.
If you've got it, flaunt it.
If you've got it, of course. There is that as well. So I thought, like, which vest should I wear? And I found what I considered to be the ideal vest.
The Sam Burgess vest?
Well, that is the ultimate vest. Unfortunately, you can't get them anymore. But the Racing 92 vest was delicious.
Oh, yes. Now you're talking.
The deep navy blue with a little bit of orange trim and that classic badge. So
now you're talking.
I want to know not who's got the best kit, but who's got the best vest. Because I'm never going to buy a replica kit ever again. But I might buy a vest.
I bet you Fiji's is nice.
Too busy.
Their Fiji
busy.
kit is delicious.
The Fiji kit is awesome.
I want either a block. I want something classy, block colour. The Fiji and all South Pacific Island teams tend to be a bit busy with their kits. I find like tribal, indigenous patterns and whatnot.
Georgia's deep red, maroon would be a good one.
Oh,
I'm sure.
Yeah, that would be good.
After our earlier activity, JB, what about this vest? I love this.
Kenya. No, thank you.
Kenya Olympic vest from a couple of years ago.
Love it.
The rugby kit of the same ilk is amazing. I'm not sure if that comes in a vest form, though.
Oh, yeah. So maybe all of the vests are available now. Well, not the France vest. I found, this sounds like a really... So there's a brand that does powerlifting gear, and there's the French national powerlifting T-shirt, and I really want it. It looks very cool. yeah, I'm going to have a look for the best, and I'll report back to you on Sunday.
Excellent.
How about that for stash?
Oh, that is actually... See, in context, that looks great.
It's amazing.
That does look great. We'll talk about stash a bit more. Right,
Yes.
but that's it. Let us know what you think about the England squad. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com. Twitter, patreon.com/eggchasers for extra spicy content. Let the boys play.
Tired of ads crashing your comedy podcast party? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
Hey, it's Sheena Shea, and as you know, life can get crazy when it's all happening. But whether you're a mom like me or have a ton of work engagements, also like me, everyone should have 2 minutes to spare. So everyone can enjoy a Factor meal, a delicious, dietitian-approved meal that's fresh, never frozen, and gets delivered right to your door. You can choose from calorie-smart options, protein plus options, and more. Visit factormeals.com/Shay50 for 50% off your first order.